Gleam, your videographer from Two Hats Publishing. Welcome to the College of Complexes, being held at Barbeck's Restaurant at 8949 Garland Road, Dallas, Texas. Gently embracing the east side of White Rock Lake. When I entered, I was greeted like coming home to Grandma's house, warm and friendly. When visiting the Barbeck's Restaurant, tell them you want your reservations for the next College of Complex class.
Welcome to the College of Complexes. This is our 254th meeting since we started in February of 2009. We put a speaker on every week, a different subject. We require a speaker to take a position on an issue or express a point of view. They have to be for or against something. We don't care what it is. We give them an hour to make a presentation. If they go over an hour, we cut them off. If anybody interrupts the speaker, remind the interrupter. We only listen one fool at a time. That's one of our rules. Then we have question and answers, not speeches. Then we have remarks, rebuttals. Everybody in the audience gets 5 minutes at this podium to respond to the speaker said for or against. The speaker gets the last word, gets a comment, and close the meeting. That's how it works. But before we introduce our speaker, now's the time for announcements. Does anybody have any announcements they want to make? Now's the time to do it. Get it out of your system. Any announcements? Now's the time. You got any announcements you want to make? No? Just check.
Follow the 8th commandment.
The 8th commandment.
Don't have police shootings. Thou shalt not steal.
All right. Okay. Next week we have Can We Change the World with the Power of Our Minds? That's Pat O'Connell will talk about that. The following week is Join the Math Revolution, no pencil, no paper, no calculator. That's with Kenneth Everett, master educator and motivational speaker. He'll be here. And January 24th, the real benefits of reading before kindergarten. It's on your itinerary. I don't want to read all this. January 31st, we have Lone Wolf Gonzalez and the assassination of Pancho Villa. That should be good. And February 7th, on expanding judicial foreclosures in Texas, that's with Judge Martin Hoffman, 6th District Sixth District Court. He's quite good. It ought to be good. And on February 21st, our speaker is here today, John Beasley. He's going to talk about why the U.S. needs a progressive party. That's in the itinerary. He's sitting over there. So he'll be a good speaker on February 21st. Anyway, our speaker tonight is Mike Gauss. He's a writer, a pluralist, an activist. He's the first Muslim and perhaps the first non-Jewish person to commemorate the Holocaust. He's going to discuss how hate is one of the many sources of disrupting peaceful functioning of a society, and it's our duty, both individually and severally, to track down the source of such hate and work on mitigating it while guarding the safety of every citizen, bringing closure to the loose ends of many conflicts, and building cohesive societies where no human lives in apprehension of another. Mike will express his view that by resolving the Jewish-Palestinian conflict, that is, security to Jews and justice to Palestinians, most of the world issues will collapse and a period of peace on earth will begin. He also will show how overriding desire to highlight our own blinds us from others' suffering and will awaken us to a sense of responsibility for creating a better world. So, without further ado, please give a very, very warm welcome to Mike Gauss.
No, I'm fine with it.
It turned off. What do I do to turn this on, Mike?
There's a little button on the top.
On, off, I see it. There we go. Ready, set. How do I zoom on this?
You don't need to zoom. I think you can just take it. There you go. Good evening. Good evening to you all. I am glad to be here. Tom, one announcement. Some of you may like here, some may not. I was a Republican for 30 years. On November this year, I decided to go independent. I was not able to connect with the attitudes, with the outlook on society, so I thought it's better for me to be independent. Anyway, I got four small items that I want to talk about. It is about carving out a purposeful life for this year, and every year after that. How do we do that? Then starting life with a clean slate. We got a lot of mess in our lives. How do we clean that and restart our lives? Then I talk about the Holocaust and Genocides commemoration. The 8th annual event is happening on 25th of this month at the Unity Church in Dallas. And on 27th, we're doing it most likely at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. And then the last item is about gratitude. Gratitude is the key to keep all of us in shape, spiritual shape, mental shape, physical shape. With that, I want to go about, you can make life purposeful by doing a few things, questioning everything that is dished out to us, no matter who it is coming from, our pastor, clergy, parents, friends, teacher. We need to question and see if there is another point of view to that, or if that is the whole truth. And making an effort to see other points at the other side of the issue instead of blindly believing whatever is given to us. And expressing gratitude for every little thing we receive in life. And forgiving and seeking forgiveness often. Resisting stereotyping others. You look at one person and make a judgment about the entire group, and that is not good for the society. It has to be individuals that make the mess, not as a group. Be kind to at least one person a day. Just make an idea that today I'm going to be kind to somebody or the other. A kind word, a kind expression, it goes a long way. It brings joy to us and gives joy to the other person. And volunteering. Most of you are volunteers here. I think the best way to volunteer, at least 1 hour a week, is to volunteer for people that you don't know. Not your church, not your group, but someone complete stranger, and they will not see you again, and you serve them and walk out from there. There is a joy in it. And you may want to make that part of your life to do 1 hour a week for strangers. And respecting the otherness of others. That is part of my preaching, teaching, education that I'm working on. That is the definition of pluralism. That is respecting the otherness of other. You are who you are, I am who I am. If you look at creation or evolution or a Big Bang, no matter what people believe, we are here. We are for real. And if you look at the nature has created each one of us to be a very unique being. Everyone has got our own thumbprint, eye print, our own DNA, our own taste bud. Even if you grew up in the same family, same mother cooked the food for two siblings, they develop different taste for salt and sugar. So God wants us to be very unique, each one of us. We don't need to be copycats. We don't need to force other people to be like us. We need to let us be who we are. And respecting that otherness is God's will, God's intention. Those of you who believe in God. And respecting that intention of God for us to be unique is the highest form of worship. You can't praise the Lord more than that. Accepting God, you created each one of us to be unique and different. I praise you and I appreciate you. And then promoting my own little website. It's a non-profit. It's called the GaussDiary.com. I write about 200 to 250 articles a year. And at least 50 of them get published at Dallas Morning News. And about 50 at Huffington Post and other places. Let me make a point. We can make our life purposeful, meaningful, but just doing simple things. Really not a complicated thing, but doing simple things, we can make it very meaningful for ourselves. We have the choice to do that or a choice not to do anything about it. Success is not necessarily driving a Mercedes or owning a big house. Success is determining what you want in life and achieving it, even if it is a small thing. And the successful people are generally achievers because their goals are very focused, very few, and they achieve them. And it is rather living what you want to live without other things. Nothing in life is more important than knowing yourselves. Who you are, what is it that you want in life, and how do you get what you want. Remember, no one knows better about yourself than you. I'm pleased to share some of my experiences with you, hoping that you can relate with some of those. Once upon a time, I was a very ambitious guy. I wanted to own the whole world. I wanted to conquer everything out there. Then after my divorce, and felt people are not driven equally the same. You don't have to conquer the world to be happy in life. You can be just as happy without doing all those ambitions. There was a time when I met people who didn't have any ambition. They were doing small things but never had the ambition. I never understood them. But when I went through that personal experience, I learned that you don't need to have the ambition or drive. Just living happily is what one needs to focus on, and they will be very happy with that. And another year is about, well, it's gone. We got a new year now. And we got to make some commitments to ourselves, not to anybody else. And how do we go about that? I have given some little cards, if you got the cards. And I'm going to start with the mirror, a small mirror. And in that mirror, I'm going to ask any one of you who would want to volunteer to look into the mirror. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Okay, you are looking at the mirror. You see yourselves there. And if you take few items of life like family, friends, financial, your profession, or spirituality, or volunteer, or your health, from each issue, if you look in the mirror, you may be satisfied in many issues. There may be one or two areas that you may not be satisfied in life. You're not happy with what is going on with you. You can just fake one word. You don't have to tell the truth. Tell me what is that you're not happy with, as an example. Okay. If
Mark, well, I've done so many things, so I have accomplished, but there's always accomplishing more.
Okay. I have a joke to share about being younger. I will do that a little later. But first, if I were to give this mirror to you again next year on the same day,
Yes.
if I were to give that mirror to you next year on the same day,
Yes.
a year down the road, and ask you to look at what you have done to yourselves, wherever the deficiency was, wherever you felt you needed improvement, what would you say?
I think I would be improving because I think I kind of almost always am improving.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yes.
You will be improving because you are aware of it and you want to do something about it.
Right.
But if you see the same person again a year from now, who are you to blame if no
Well-
change has happened?
Yeah, myself. Me, myself, and I.
True. Thank you. That's all I wanted to share.
Okay.
That is, if you look ourselves at mirror every year and ask ourselves, I'm not happy with my relationship, I'm not happy with my job, I'm not happy with my savings, I'm not happy with my relationship with my friends. Fine. What have you done that you can answer differently a year from now? If you do nothing, nothing will change. So the life is entirely in our hands. Whatever we want to make, we can make from that. So you got a little card there. If you don't mind, if you can write a few words on the card, you can number them, you can prioritize any way you want. Write number 1 as family. Number 2, friends. And number 3, financial. And number 4 is profession. 5, spirituality. 6, volunteer. And 7, health. Health. 4 is profession. 5 is spirituality. You can prioritize any way you want. What I have done is broadly classified this, and if you keep this card in your wallet or in your purse while you are driving, just pick one item, family. While driving, think about the family, spend about 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes, what your family relationships are, who comprises your family, what are the good things about those relationships with each one, where do you miss something in that relationship with someone. If you don't miss, well and good, but if you do miss, you become conscious of that at that moment, that my sister, I said something several years ago, we're not happy, we don't see eye to eye, and that is being bothersome to me. I'm sure it is bothersome to her. Or my mother, I said something wrong to my mother, she was not happy about it. I am regretful, but I have not done anything to clear that out. So these are the things that you come up with as you are driving, thinking about that. And then you may want to focus on those things that were really bothering you. And then take time to call up your mother or sister. I know it's very difficult to say, I'm sorry for what I have said, because we're always afraid that then there is some compensation, something we have to do in return for that. With that fear, we live all our lives. We need to get out of the fear. It is worth apologizing, worth forgiving, worth doing it. Once you do that, you're completely free to be whatever you want to be. So likewise, financially, about your savings, about your income, there may be something that you can do about. The most important thing I'm talking about here is being aware of the specific issue. It's like a cloud. Sometimes when you're driving, when you get up in the morning, too many things in mind, there is no clarity, and it gives migraines, it gives headaches. We don't know what to do because there are too many things cluttering at one time. By writing it down, by separating the issues, clarity comes. If you look at if you are working with a computer, if you open several programs at one time, 8 to 10 programs, computer slows down completely. And you type the word and wait for the screen to show up. It's too slow. It's frustrating. And we continue to work with that frustration. Instead, if we reboot the computer, all of a sudden it functions fast and we feel comfortable with that. We need to reboot our minds. We got too much clutter in it. There is nothing wrong with the clutter, but there is a way to get out of it. You can go to prayer, you can go to the church, synagogue, temple, mosque, wherever. 5 minutes of meditation will really pull you back, reboot you to start your mind afresh with a clean mind again, so you can function like a computer again. And volunteering is one thing that really gives. I volunteer about 20 hours a week. I enjoy that. There is a lot of joy in it. You know, on a daily basis, if you're walking down the street, somebody falls, you give them a hand. For the whole day, you feel good about it. We can do that every day, all the times, and feel much better about ourselves. So those are the few things And we have to commit ourselves to what we want to do. I can never pronounce this guy's name. Is it Goethe? Goethe. Goethe. Okay. I tried to memorize, I played the dictionary, I don't get that word. He said, until one is committed, there is hesitancy. Concerning all acts of initiative, there is one elementary truth, that the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. The moment one definitely commits oneself, like nature paves the way and all sorts of things happen, and you can achieve in life all the things you want. It's like going into business or dating somebody. If you go with the idea, let me try, see if this will work out. What happens? When something goes wrong, somebody's check bounces in the business, or the date doesn't show up, or they don't reciprocate your call, all of a sudden, I know it was not going to work out. You start negating yourselves, and you fail yourselves. Instead of God failing you, you start failing yourselves. So we need to go with a full commitment. I'm going to do this. If I fail, that's fine, I'll deal with it. But if I fail myself before going in, why should anybody pass me? So we need to think about those. No matter what you do in life, we got to have the commitment to succeed in it. And again, I hope I have written about 7 items. Each one of those items you can reflect upon while driving, or just sitting, or even with your close family members, discuss about them, and without fear. If you're afraid, we never find the truth for ourselves. If you remove the fear, we'll be a lot happier as we go forward. Now, talking about starting the life with a clean slate. Remember the clutter we talked about? Everyone has the clutter. How do we start life with a clean slate? I'll give you 2 examples. My late wife, when she passed away, she had cancer. For 9 months she was in hospital, and unfortunately she passed away. But what happened during that time, I learned from my mother's experience, and we applied that experience with my wife at that time. One day we sat down and I said, Najma, that's her name, I know there are things in life that have caused some apprehension, some pain, dealing with different people. That is part of life. You said something to someone, somebody else said something to you, and there is tension. When you go to a party, when you see someone, either you run or they run because you don't want to see them. That tension is there. I said, why don't we sit down and figure out those things that bother you, that cause you tension. Of course, she knew she was going to be gone. So we sat down and figured out about 10 items that I could come up with. And then each time, for example, one item, she was a realtor, and she had shown home to this guy, a $3 million home. She spent 3 months with them, and I gave them, I'm a home builder, I taught them what to look in a home, and she spent 3 months showing. Finally, the guy goes buys from someone else. And 3 months of driving, 3 months of gas, 3 months of time dedication wasn't worth anything to them. She got angry with him, rightfully so. She said a lot of things to him on the phone, and I tried to hold her. I said, it's gone, let it go. But she was very angry, and she said a lot of things to him. And I said, and after that, no matter where we go, a civil party or a religious party, we go there, and all of a sudden I realize that guy runs away. Or she says, let's go, I'm getting a headache, let's not stay here, let's go back. And that tension carried. I said, we identified those, and I called that guy, Sean, Najma has got last few days, you need to come. You need to release each other. If you don't, you will be living in that tension for your life, and she would be too. Then he was saying, no, Mike, there is really nothing, I'm okay. I said, no, it's not okay, because I see you run and I see her run. It has to come to an end. We have to conclude the transaction. We cannot let it be dangling. He came, and all of a sudden my wife and they started crying. Even before they acknowledged the problem, they know why they were there together, started crying together, and there was a big relief. My kids from my previous wife, they had difficulty with her. They hadn't seen her in 1 year's time. They didn't want to see her. They didn't like her. And we were in the hospital before the doctor sent on hospice. And I called my kids, hey guys, you need to come and meet her. These are her last days. I said, Dad, we don't want to come. We are hurt too much. I really don't want to come. I was looking at them and I said, they're my kids. They're going to carry this baggage all their life. I had to take a stand and ask them. I had that right as a father to demand them, hey, you need to come. Believe me right now, I will explain to you later. Just do it for me. But ultimately, you are doing it for yourselves. Reluctantly, both my kids came. And there was an inner desire in my late wife. She wanted to apologize, but she didn't know how to do that. She was aware of the wrongdoing she had done, but she had no idea how to do it. She was afraid to say she was sorry. Neither my kids wanted to tell her that how wrong she was, that they were hurt. They just want to let it disappear. It wouldn't disappear. When the kids came, both of them, all of a sudden, my son, I think at that time he was 21. I'd never seen him crying like a baby. And she started crying. These are all the little things that relieved her. One of the other things that she and I wanted to do, we always appreciate volunteers. There are some eternal volunteers. Wherever you go, they are working. So we had a lot of admiration for those people. And she said, I want to give a dinner for this. There were about 25 of them. Give them dinner just to let them know that we care, we appreciate how good they are. Selflessly, they are serving the people. And of course, we had only a week's time. I called all those guys. I said, look, we need to set up a dinner. You need guys to come up. They all agreed. We couldn't do it in 8 days, but they agreed in 15 days that they will all come and meet her. And then I told her that all the 10 things we had identified, 8 of them were done. 2 of them was dinner for the volunteers, and there was another thing. We will get that done. She, out of nowhere, she started crying, and she said, I love you. And that came from her heart, and I had to cry. Then about 3 days before her time, her voice she couldn't speak anymore. She couldn't open the eyes were closed, there was a smile on her face. And when I came back and said, the guys have agreed for dinner, they will all be here, and that is one of your wishes. All the 10 wishes will be done. And any shortcomings I had on my part, please forgive me. Without batting an eye, she said, forgive me too. The next day, she was unable to speak completely. I went back to her, and as usual, I said, Najma, I'm going to work. We had an agreement that I will not go outside the house for more than 2 hours. I said, I'm going, I'll be back in 2 hours. For a day or two, she couldn't speak. As I was walking out, I hear the sound, Mike! I was taken back. Her daughters and her sisters were all there, and they said, she's calling for you. I went back, and we couldn't believe that she was speaking. She said, I love you. And it was very difficult for me at that time. But she said that, and after that she didn't speak anymore. And the doctors, the psychiatrist told us that she was looking for a release. All the things that were holding her, we were able to release her, and she felt completely free, and she was ready to go. And she was a Muslim, and in the beginning she didn't want, when we got married, she just wanted to focus on her religion. She didn't have anything to do with others. But working with me for 12 years, she became a true interfaith person. About 8 or 10 minutes before she passed away, my Hindu, Christian, and my Jewish friends walked in the last day. We want to see her. Can we do that? So sure. She was lying, and we were doing all Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and Hindu prayers. I put my hand under her hand. It was cold, and I felt that last minutes are coming. And I left them outside and came back, and her sisters started screaming at me, "Mike, is she breathing?" I said, "Yeah, she's breathing." To me, she was breathing. Then I looked at, she was not breathing. Smilingly, she left. Since then, wherever I go, I always ask everyone, you had some tension with your sister, brother, customer, parent, somebody, clarify that, remove the tension, you will be so much happier. And so I urge you, all of you, whoever it is in your life, if you had some apprehension, some tension, work it out. It's very relieving. You feel relieved. You feel complete. It's like a salvation. You completely feel free about it, and you feel good about it. And not only you, the other person feels good. So that would be my one small request to all of you. Tomorrow when you get a chance, all the people that you had tension, have the courage to call them up. There is no consequence to facing the issues. There is no need to be afraid of it. But the fear will be gone once you clarify. There is a joy in life. So much happiness is out there to be had. We just have to have that little courage to cross over and get it. My mother did the same thing. She had a week, she was in a hospital. She called, my father was a mayor of a town where I grew up. She was a mother to everybody in the town. She called everybody and she said, "This old lady has gone nuts. She's not going to die, she's just saying that." She called me. I was here in Dallas. And of course, first time I cried and I went. I was 4 hours late after she had passed away. But I was smiling, sitting at her body, I was smiling. My brothers and sisters, everybody thought I had gone nuts. Then I said to them, "No, I'm not. I'm smiling for the legacy she left." She called everyone and asked for forgiveness, forgave whoever was there. She went with a clean mind, free from every tension. And, so those two I wanted to share. Thank you for listening to me. And now I'm going to talk about the Holocaust and genocide event. How are we doing time? Okay. I want to share the little story about the Holocaust and genocides. When I was growing up, I read every book my mother read. I was 8 or 9 years old, I don't remember, somewhere near there. There was a book called Eichmann, Killer of 6 Million Jews. She had that book, she was reading that book. And I wanted to read that book. My mother said, "No, you can't handle it. It's too painful for you to read. Don't read it." As a kid, when she was away from home, I stole the book and read, but I couldn't read it. I was going to show you a PowerPoint. There was one image that has stuck with me all my life. That image was the children, the old people, the women, the Jewish people who were walked to a large pit. They were standing there on the other side with the German soldiers wanting to shoot them from the backside. The looks on their face was so difficult. I was very proud of them. They didn't beg anybody to save their life. They were looking at all of us saying, "You called yourselves friends. We work together. We're friends. Where are you? Why aren't you speaking up? But they didn't. They quietly, proudly got shot into the ditch and they died. That scene has not gone from my life. Every time I see somebody, a police, harassing a guy who is helpless, who doesn't have anything, he's helpless, they're kicking and beating him, I remember that scene. What is the world doing about it? What are you doing about it? I have done nothing, I'm getting beat up. When children are being beat up, children are being abused, what the ISIS guys are doing in Iraq, we feel bad. What are we doing about it? At least speak up. That's the least thing we can do. So, after that, my mom had conditioned me so badly that for the next 44 years of my life, I was not able to see the Second World War movie where they showed the Holocaust in it. I would shut down. Watching the movie, when I see the Holocaust thing, it completely shut me down. I couldn't do anything. Go turn the TV off and just go away for a few hours to recoup. I wanted to do something about it, but I had no idea what to do. It was in the back of my mind. In 2005, we did an event called Unity Day. We've been doing this for 12 years now.
I was there.
Good, I'm glad. Oh, you were there in Frisco?
The first one you had.
That was in Frisco, yeah. In that, something amazing, it was about 9/11. We had about 8 to 9 mayors from different cities. FBI chief, police chief, fire chief. We were all together, every community was there. We made sure from atheist to Zoroastrian and everyone in between was there represented. We were all Americans together. And it was about 9/11, everybody was tense. All of a sudden the fire alarm goes. Mayor Joe Chow was speaking at that time. Fire alarm goes, everybody panics, everybody runs. It was about 9/11, the alarm goes, everybody was scared and everybody ran outside. The Frisco mayor was sitting there and the FBI chief, Guadalupe Gonzalez at that time. They were sitting and the police, the Frisco mayor, Mike Simpson, called immediately and the fire department was right there within a minute, and they said it was a false alarm. Some kid had pulled it, but the truck has to come to undo that. The alarm will be going. Meanwhile, Joe was speaking non-stop. But people were afraid to come back in. They were scared what was happening. Then I asked FBI chief and Mayor Simpson to call everybody, hey look, I am the mayor of this city. It is a false alarm. Guadalupe was saying, I am the FBI chief. You are safe, come back. At that time, my Jewish friends, there was a whole 2 rows of my Jewish friends sitting there. I saw this kid on their face. It was very difficult. I said, they are my guests. And it is not fair that they are afraid. Then I said, I got to do something about it. I really didn't know what to do about it, but it was bugging me what to do. That was in September 2005. Come November, United Nations passed an ordinance to commemorate Holocaust on January 27th each year. And then I said, God has sent this opportunity to me. I had to bring a closure to my own fear that I had for so many years, 40 some years. This is something I want to do. I said, why don't we commemorate this? My Jewish friends are saying, you're crazy. Only Jewish people do that, others don't do this. I said, why not? And I said, if we can build bridges as a Muslim and we can share an event like this, that we can build some bridges, and that hopefully will translate into finding some repair in what's going on in Palestine and Israel. If we can do that, all people will be safe and happy. That is something we need to do. I went to the Holocaust Museum. One of my Jewish friends, he said, have you seen the movie Schindler's List? Which I still carry the copy. I had not seen, I didn't rights to see the movie. He handed this over to me. He said, take a look at it. I saw it. It was difficult. I wanted to run, but I said, no, I'm going to sit and watch it. I did. And then we went to the Holocaust Museum. We put the first Holocaust commemoration. Rosalie and William Schiff, they are the Holocaust survivors. And they spoke for about 45 minutes. There was pin drop silence. The difficulties they had endured, what they had gone through. And what we did differently was, it should not be a Jewish commemoration. Only Jewish people should not be suffering this pain. We all should share that. And we had everyone from atheist, Baha'i, Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, everybody was there. We had a 2 or 3 minutes prayer from each one to share that prayer, because we all share this world, share humanity. And that we've been doing for 8 years now. And hopefully, then we added the genocide part of that, because it's just not Holocaust. There is some meanness in each one of us. That meanness is, if you hear about the genocide of Rwanda, the Hutsi and Tutsi, what happened with the Pol Pot, or Bosnia, somehow we don't, if I'm Jewish, I don't feel the same pain of others. If it is a Muslim from Bosnia, they may not feel the same pain what Jewish people did. And that is wrong. We need to be able to feel the pain and suffering of everyone. When we do that, we become a full human. We can connect with the other people. And when we connect, we can create a better world for all of us. So we got this event lined up. I was going to show some pictures, but we couldn't do it. This event lined up on 25th January at the Unity Church. It's going to be a short 3-hour event. And people are again, I fully understand, people are reluctant to come to the event because it's very sad, melancholic. People want to come and enjoy, go to the concerts, enjoy, but people have difficulty going and listening. But if you do have the courage to come and sit and see what other people have gone through, all people, there is not a single group that has not been humiliated by the other group. Each one of us is responsible. As a Muslim, Muslims have committed atrocities. Jewish people have done, Christians have done, everyone has done. It is not to blame, it is to understand the inhumanity within each one of us, and how can we change that? How can we become humans and honor and respect everybody's life? And if you all could come, that would be great. I'd appreciate. And we are doing one at the National Cathedral, that is a big high place in Washington. And of course, I was hoping to invite Obama, but he's going to India on that day. He'll be there. So, but whoever can come, will come. And we want the world to know that we are all in this together. Whether suffering or joy, we need to celebrate. I also write what I call is the festivals of the world. For the last 20 years, whether it is Rosh Hashanah, Christmas, Easter, or whatever festival it is, Hindu, atheist, pagan, Native Americans, I write the essence of the festival. Not for, if I'm writing about Rosh Hashanah, for Jewish people it is very basic, it's nothing. But other people know nothing about it, they get some idea about it. So I write about all the festivals. I've been writing for 20 years, and thanks to Huffington Post, they publish it. It's called Essence of whatever the festival is. The more we learn about each other, the less problems we have. The reason we have conflicts in this world, no matter who, father, son, wife, husband, our nations, we have conflicts because we build myths about the others. All of a sudden, the Mexicans are like this, Jewish people are this, Muslims are this. We really don't know the fact. We just believe whatever is dished out to us and carry that inside us. It's time for us to question ourselves what is dished out to us. If you do that, when we learn about each other, a lot of conflicts fade away. It's like you and your sister may have not talked for 5 years, 6 years. or maybe longer. And one day, by accident, you and your sister meet in a party, and they don't want to see each other, they want to sit together. Then somehow, some third party makes you sit together. Then say, I don't want to talk to her. She said this about me 7 years ago. Sister, I didn't say that. No, you said this. No, this is what I said. Really? All of a sudden he says, for 7 years I built up this bias against my sister, not knowing the truth. All of a sudden this thing disappeared. Why did you hold tension for that long? In a public event like the Unity Day, in the third year in 2008, my Sikh and Zoroastrian friends came, and each one has to go speak for 2 minutes. And say, Mike, can we reverse the alphabetical order? We did it from atheist to Zoroastrian. Can you do it? I said, why? Why do we need to do it? I don't mind doing it, but what is the reason for you to ask that we reverse the order? They said, last time you went in the alphabetical order. When our turn came, the Muslims walked out on us. They hated us. I said, wait a minute. And they did? I said, yeah, they did. Then we said, hold it, don't run away from it, let's find out what it was. Then we figured out the time, and Muslims have a habit, if they pray 5 times a day, if the prayer time is 7:20 p.m., no matter what's happening in the world, they go pray. And Mayor Evans of Plano was our keynote speaker. Then I told the guy, they felt so bad and stupid. For 2 years, they had held against Muslims that they did it to us without finding the truth, what was happening. And when the mayor went to speak, she said, prayer to God for the believers is important. While I'm speaking, if the Sikhs, Muslims, Christians, anybody, if your time for prayer, just go, I'll be happy and proud that you did. So there are a lot of little things, but I will cut that short. All we have to do is ask them, is that what you said to me? If not, then why I'm holding it against you? There is a lot of happiness out there if we just clarify with people. Let's see. With that, the last item I want to share about is the gratitude. We shouldn't be bitching about anything in life. We should be happy with what we have. When I was 14 years old, back in my town, every Sunday, I don't like to use the word beggar, but that is the word they use. Beggars form a line, long line, and they pass in front of every home. My dad had assigned me clothes, food, some money. I'll sit in the door as they pass. I will dole out to them. There was one guy that I had seen him for 2 years. He didn't have the limbs, he didn't have the legs. He just a torso. And he, in the old days, if you remember the car tubes, the car tires had tubes inside. And he cut the tube and put it in the back, tied it, and he would crawl from home to home. And as a teenager, to me life was all about getting married and all the other things that go with it, getting a job, having a car. These were the ambitions you had. I didn't ask the guy why he's living, what is there for him. So 2 years down the road I asked him, his name was Apaya. Apaya, I'm curious about you. You don't have a wife, you don't have a house, you can't change clothes, you can't eat. What do you have in life? Why don't you just commit suicide? At that time, everybody was committing suicide in my town. If they failed in the exam, they commit suicide. If they didn't get the job, they commit suicide. That was very common way back in mid-60s. And I said, why don't you commit suicide? What is there for you? He started laughing at me. He said, young man, you won't believe if I say this to you. I said, what? He said, when I wake up in the morning, the blue sky looks so beautiful to me. I wait all night long to see the blue sky. I'm so happy that God has given me the eyes to see it. He said, when it rains, the smell from the dirt that comes out. It's so beautiful. I crawl outside and smell that. There is so much for me. Then he said, when I'm crawling down your streets, everybody cooks some good food. I may not eat it, but I enjoy the smells of the food. I hear the songs. He says, there is so much to enjoy in life. God has given me this many things to enjoy. Why should I want to die? I want to live as long as I have that life and enjoy and keep thanking the Lord. I just want to share that with you. There is so much to be appreciative, so much to be thankful. Anytime we feel ungrateful for whatever, think about the Apaya. He didn't have anything, but he was grateful and he was happy. And that is the secret to be happy, to express our gratitude to others, seek forgiveness, forgive others, and thank you very much.
You can stay there and ask questions.
Absolutely.
Who wants to be first? Somebody. Who wants to be first? Who has to be first? Oh, I just have a question.
Okay, January 20th, you said, is that the day of the event?
January 25th, Sunday,
25th. So what time?
3 to 5 at the Unity Church.
And that's on Greenville Ave? Or Forest?
I'm glad you mentioned it is on Forest Lane between Hillcrest and Preston.
Good, that's good.
Hold still, very still,
What?
and now hold still again, because I've got a bunch of pictures, but I want to get some better ones. Ready, set, just look straight at me. Now, this time, smile. There you go. I think I got some good ones.
You know, they say people are obedient in front of two people, the photographer and the barber. You're always obedient to them. You do what they tell you to do.
Photographer and the barber. Who wants to be next? Any questions?
I was just going to say that in this context, normally you'd have people would disagree with something you had to say, but I doubt there's much to disagree with.
Any question?
Yeah, well, I don't really have a question because you made it very, very clear.
How have things worked out for you since your divorce?
It's worked out fine. I mean, I just want to share, I'm glad you asked that question. When we were going through the divorce, we talked. And I said, we had 2 kids. And I said, if there is an accident, if I die in the accident or you die, if we build kids to hate each other, then they have to live with the other person that we maligned. It's not fair to the children. Let's not say anything bad to our kids. The fight is between you and me. Let's keep it to that. But let's not get children involved. Let's not put the pressure or burden on them. And to this day, it has happened. The wedding, my ex-wife and I are together every weekend with our kids. And we are very conscious. We don't want to mess up anybody's joy. And it has worked out fine. Thanks.
Yes, a very interesting talk. Your sentiments are admirable, and most people here would agree with them. Why do you think that most politicians who profess great religious virtues don't seem to share in these sentiments?
I think they will. I think they are driven by the applause. When they say something wrong, some people applaud inadvertently. They think they are encouraged to do that. And we just need to sit down and talk with them. They are afraid. They want to please somebody. They need to please God. They need to be truthful. Then we will have less of those problems.
Well, don't you think they're really pleasing their paymasters?
That is very true. Very true. And we should, I think that lots of election reform should come where none of the senators and congressmen running for should not be no more than 2 terms, and there should not be any funding from the private sector and anyone. They can put it in a single pool and each one will get the same money, and you promote and you show your skills and not money. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you seem like a man of peace and a representative of your religion, unlike that which the public sees, the public face. We see the Ayatollahs, we see the people from overseas, and then we see some of the radicals in England, the radical Muslims. They talk about sending people over to help ISIS and ISIL. And in this country, to my lifetime, I have never seen a Muslim clergyman go on TV and scream, "This is wrong," with a loud voice and a strong voice. You seem to be somebody who does say and enunciate, but I don't see the imams doing that. I never have, and I live to see that day, that we don't look every day and say, terrorist. There's always a preface. When I was a child, it used to be Cuban terrorist, it used to be foreign terrorist. Now, there's always one word that seems to precede the word terrorist, and you know what word that is.
Muslim.
That's right, and I don't understand why the clergymen and the imams, and I'm not talking about the black Muslims so much, because that's like a different religion in many ways, but you never see the imams come out and forcefully go on TV and state in a loud, clear voice, shouting if necessary, "This is wrong, we don't believe in it, and this is not a true picture." Instead, they're kind of mealy-mouthed and quiet. We are the religion of peace. Now, you seem to be the first person I've seen who stood for something, who's enunciated in a different way, and I'm very pleased. Maybe you ought to be the guy running the imams. Anyway, that's just my comment.
No, in fact, thank you. But in all honesty, 60 imams in the United States, all the biggest imams in town, they got together in Washington, D.C. They sent statements, they held press conference, but for some reason, TV doesn't show much of their work.
They don't wave their fist and scream, "This is wrong." You see Jesse Jackson. You see everybody from Rabbi Gershon in Dallas when he says "never again." You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He says "never again." You look, but you don't see the imams doing the same thing. They take what's known again as a mealy-mouthed approach, and maybe that's the news publicity again and the reporters, but we need to see more of that. Maybe you can spread the word to them. The public is influenced by that, and we need to see more righteous indignation from that community, even if it's there. We're not seeing.
I agree. It is, you're not seeing because they want to be on the TV. There are many imams here, they get angry, they want to go tell the things they want to, but TV never capture, they never get the TV time.
They need to head over to Temple Emmanuel and tell Rabbi Stern to just show up on a Friday night and speak their mind after the service in a loud, clear voice. Then the word will get around.
No, the Jewish, Baptist, Muslim groups have worked together very well on that. It's not much on TV, it's a shame. It should be. I'm on Sean Hannity on Fox for the last 5 years, and I try to get some other people to come. The way Sean treats people, he cuts them off in the middle, and nobody wants to come there. No, it's humiliating for some imam who runs a congregation of 3,000 people to be cut off by a TV host, so they don't go there. They got that fear.
Maybe they ought to cut him off.
Well, I did with Glenn, Glenn Beck. About 5 years ago, Glenn called me and he said, "I want you to be on my show." I was on Hannity. And I said, "Glenn, I have some conditions." I said, "What?" "You ask a question, allow me to answer. I'm slow in responding. I don't respond immediately. It takes me a few seconds. You need to stop bombarding me with questions without getting an answer. What's the point? You ask me a question, let me answer, then we go to the next." He says, "You are telling me how to conduct my business?" And I said, "Glenn, my name is there too. I'm answering. I need to answer. What is the point in me being on your show when I can't say anything?" He says, "You are not telling me." Then I said, "I'm not going to be on your show." He slammed the phone and said, "I'm never going to talk to you in my life again." I said, "Fine." I'm sorry?
Isn't it hear positive.
Wait for the microphone,
Wait,
please.
wait, Margaret. Is it possible that the reasons we don't hear positive things being reported coming from the imams is that it's against our national desires? Do we not, is it possible that we are simply utilizing an anti-Muslim attitude in this country to achieve other things?
I think you hit the nail right on the point. On the TV, the talk show hosts, they have their agenda. I mean, you know, what's his name? The guy, the big radio guy. Rush Limbaugh. You know what he said when John Huntsman was running? John Huntsman was a very moderate guy, and he had enough things to praise about Obama. So Rush Limbaugh goes and tells on the radio, anybody who praises Obama is a traitor, and that is not a Republican. I mean, that's the kind of attitude. That's who they want to put in. Muslims are struggling, there is no doubt. They want to speak up. They are very loyal, good citizens. There are bad guys, no doubt. 71% of the arrests in the US of those people who are inclined for terrorism were reported by Muslims to the FBI. And we had another meeting last week, and there were 3 imams. We made a video, and they say anytime you suspect somebody from Muslims, even an inkling, just report the guy. Let the FBI do the scanning, let do what they want, but we don't want this guy to malign, make our lives dangerous for everyone. So there is that sentiment, but I don't think it has caught on. It will.
There are, I'm trying to get the floor.
I'm listening to you.
You know, our church, I go to the Arapahoe United Methodist Church.
Right.
And we've met numerous times with people from the mosque. We have sort of an arrangement, and we may meet at the mosque, or they may meet at our church, and we sit around the table, and it's, you know, we exchange questions and try to answer questions, things like that. It wasn't my impression, or is it your impression really, that most Muslims don't believe the Holocaust occurred?
Don't believe in what?
Did you say that?
Don't believe in what?
Do you believe that most Muslims don't believe that the Holocaust occurred?
That is wrong. All Muslims believe in it. In fact, there are many in Albanian Muslims, and Muslims, several people have given shelter to Jews, and they have always protected. The Israel-Palestine conflict has clouded everything. The Jews and Muslims, for 1500 years, the only place safe for Jewish people was with the Muslim countries, where they never persecuted Jews. It was always in Europe that they persecuted. It is because of the land issue that is causing. Even now, if the Israeli leaders and the Palestinian leaders become responsible people, if I'm an Israeli, I want to elect a prime minister who promises to bring peace, not fight wars, and I will measure that person's ability and how much progress he or she has made. Same thing with the Palestinian leadership. How much progress have you moved an inch towards peace? If not, we don't need you.
I have another quick question. I have a friend who she claims to be a very fervent Christian, and she says that she gets up in the morning and she thanks the Lord that for the new day, and asks if He will be with her. And as she continues throughout the day, she carries on just a normal conversation, and it's like it's a friend. It's like the Lord is a friend who is standing next to her, and she may talk to Him at any time. So my question is, how important is it that the Muslims pray 5 times a day? What happens if they miss one?
You can miss. There is an allowance. If you're sick, if you're traveling, you can miss. The idea of the prayers is kind of rebooting oneself. If you are going through a tension in a day, if your work is full of tension, if you take a break, you call it meditation if you want to. If you take 5 minutes peaceful time, it doesn't have to be a Muslim prayer. It could be any prayer in any religion. You can call God with any name you want. Still it is the God. And that will bring some peace to people. There is nothing wrong if they want to pray 10 times. It's their own good. Actually, there is a story, sorry to say that, Prophet Muhammad, he went up to heavens to talk with God. And God said, well, everybody has to pray 100 times a day. And as he was coming down, he meets Moses. Muslims believe in all the prophets. He meets Moses. Moses says, Muhammad, go back. People will not pray for 100 times. Get something practical. And he goes back, and God says 50 times. He comes back down. Moses, 50 times is too many times a day. Go get something less. So he goes and gets 5 times. So Moses is responsible for getting for 5 prayers. That's the Muslim story.
Okay, I had a question about partly what's on the little blurb about you, partly things that you've been talking about. There's so many conflicts going on in the world. We hear about them all over in Africa and the Philippines, et cetera, et cetera. Yet you say here, by resolving the Jewish-Palestinian conflict, security to Jews and justice to Palestinians, most of the world's issues will collapse, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
What would solving that do to Darfur or all the others? And second part to that is, how would you solve the issue? I wrote about it as a graduate paper over 50 years ago, the same issues.
If you look back, most of the issues, conflicts in the Middle East have emanated from that single conflict, Israel and Palestine. Before that, there were not any conflicts. Most of the conflicts.
I disagree with you on that.
And Iran, for example, conflict with Iran. The only thing they cite every time is supporting Palestinians' rights.
Certainly
Iran's conflict
it's been a
is
big
based
issue
on
in the
that.
Middle East, but there have been issues all over the world.
Well, the
that don't have
terrorism,
anything to do with it.
terrorism, whether it is in Pakistan or Malaysia or it is all accumulated frustrations around the world. They see, not all of them, some of them see that West supports the tyrants that are ruling them. I'll give you one short example of goofy foreign policy that we have. President Obama in Egypt, when the Egyptians were protesting, Obama asked Mubarak to step down. The Egyptian people felt Americans are with them, not against them. If Jimmy Carter in '79, when Shah of Iran was terrorizing his citizens, had said to Shah, hey, you step down, the relationship with these American people and Iranian people, not you and I who change, we go, come and go. It's between people to people relationship. You step down, Shah, let people have their... Do you think Iranians would have hated us? Never. We were friends with them. They hated us because the tyrant we supported that was killing them and torturing them was our friend. We were supporting him. We didn't stop supporting. So we have had some foreign policy blunders. ISIS, for example, well, you think ISIS would have come if we had not bombed Iraq? We destroyed that area. And that's the product of that. If we had not gone into Iraq, what did they do, the innocent people? None of this would have happened. The Syrian conflict, the ISIS, they would not have been there at all. Even the Shia-Sunni conflict in Iraq, it wasn't there for centuries. There were flare-ups, but not killing like after we invaded Iraq. So we are at fault too. We need to look at that.
I couldn't agree more that we've had an influence, often very negative, in many parts of the world, if not all. But my point is, if we solve this particular one, what difference does that make between, say, the American Indians and the American government? Nothing. There's nothing to do with it.
I agree. I'm talking about really the Middle East. Once we subside those problems, some of the other problems will have its effects on it. Right now, look
I'm
at
waiting to see that one.
look at the anti-Semitism that is rising in Europe. The anti-Semitism is not coming from Muslims. It's coming from Christian countries in Latin America and Europe. Why is that? In the United Nations, for the settlements, 161 countries in the world, 161 countries vote for Israel to back off from settlement. Only 6 nations support that, including US. Do you think Brazil, who voted against settlement, China, who voted against settlement, or Netherlands, who voted against settlement, we are violating, we are telling them that you are idiots, we're going to do what we want to do. How should they feel? They feel injustice is being done. Anti-Semitism, Netanyahu is directly responsible for increase in anti-Semitism. If he changes his policies, things will change to better. Sorry.
Somehow a microphone kind of walked into my hand, and I've been hearing feedback in the Jewish community for many years because I'm Jewish.
Okay.
Been involved in Jewish activities from college, being a student leader, fraternity leader of Alpha Epsilon Pi at one point in my school. I've been active in the community in various groups, including a stint with the North Texas Asian American Cultural Association. I resigned as president last January at the end of it. So I've probably seen you, and I know you look familiar now, more so than I thought.
Well, I think the AJC, when they had the officers installation, I get invited, I go there.
Well, I'm talking about the NTAACA. North Texas Asian American Cultural Association.
Okay.
But I'm not, but getting back to the point here, I hear that in France there's been a mixture of Muslim anti-Jewish fervor, and I've heard in Russia it's different. It's kind of the Nazi Party white supremacist movement has taken root against the Jewish community. There are always people out there who are going to stir things up. But it seems to me in Israel you have, and the West Bank in Gaza City, you have, especially on the West Bank, what I would call extremists. You can't put this all on Netanyahu. You have to say,
he's responsible too.
Well, you have to say, what was Yasser Arafat? Oh yes. What was the Irgun? What was the Stern Gang? What are all these various organizations that are still, many of them, running around there? They all had their roots in terrorist organizations. Yeah. So we have to look at that and say what can be done nowadays to diffuse the situation, and as long as somebody's grabbing people and shooting them and pulling children, teenagers out of cars and vice versa, and then you got the religious groups on both sides being more extreme than the general population, from the ultra-Orthodox to the ultra-Muslim extremists. I mean,
absolutely.
How can you curb this? It seems like it's a never-ending task because there's always going to be some extremist willing to give up his life for nothing.
I have been thinking about it. I've been to Israel, traveled the entire Israel. The biggest thing we can do doing this Holocaust event, if we can, if the Israeli and Palestinian side, mothers and children, if we can put in room Netanyahu and Mashal or whoever in the Palestinian side, and put 5 Palestinian children, 5 Israeli children, and women with babies, and ask each day, both Netanyahu and the other guy has to look into the children's eyes, and they say, when you grow up, I'm working on making a better life for both of you. I'm not going to be a villain to you, and the other guy has to say, I'm not going to be a villain to you. One. Number 2, if the saddest thing, the Palestinian people honestly don't know the Jewish people suffering for 3,000 years. First time they made a home in Spain, and what Ferdinand do was very bad.
I'll add a last observation. I had a good friend, and he came over one night. He was Muslim, Palestinian, and he came over to me, and I gave him a coin from 1935. It said Palestine on it. Had lettering in English Hebrew and Arabic. And he had never seen that before. He never knew that there was a Palestinian protectorate and a land that was called Palestine. He's 5 years younger than I am, and he looks 10 years older. But he's a nice guy. My point being, though, still, as long as the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Wailing Wall dispute keep bubbling there, and they can't reach resolution on that, nothing will ever be solved, because that, for some reason, it would seem like they could say, well, okay, we'll open the Al-Aqsa so the Jewish can pray here for these hours, and the Muslims can come to the Wailing Wall these hours. Nobody's thought, let's do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's too easy, isn't it?
I think what we need to do is the Palestinians really need to understand the Jewish suffering they don't know. And the Jewish people need to know what the Palestinians, as on a human level, not on a military, not a political level, as human. I want to look into children's eyes and say, I don't want to be a bad guy to you. When you grow up, I want to build a better nation for both of you. I think what is missing is the human element. And if people can sit down with children is very key. Both Netanyahu and the other guy need to see children in their eyes and say, am I going to be a bad guy for them or not? If we can do that, we can solve the problem. It just need to bring the human element to it. Both are good people, they are not bad people. It is just they are stuck in this quagmire. We need to get them out.
Mike, you mentioned about the settlements. Israel's building a lot of houses and all through the West Bank and that region. Those are the settlements. It's not working?
You have to push the button.
The settlements, okay. Israel won that land or captured that land in 67. So why can't they build in it? They've got hundreds of thousands of Arabs who live there in some measure of safety. They've got it pretty well. Why can't Israel build on its own land?
They could once it is legally transferred to their name. Right now, the entire world doesn't, even including the United States, thinks it is illegal settlements. Once it is legal, if Israel annexes the land and says this is Israel from now on, and the nations agree to that, then they can build it. There's no problem with that.
It seems to me like is their land. They captured it. They do not need some world court to put a blessing on that land. Israel will never be able to win the PR battle. They will always have the rest of the world against them, no matter what they do. If the whole world comes against them and says that they should not build on that land, to me, the whole thing is null and void. The rest of the world has no say over Israel's land. Let them build the settlements all they want. And many Arabs live there in great safety and comfort. They are better off than if they lived in Arab lands like Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan. They have it made.
Well, it would be ideal, I agree with you. It would be ideal if the whole land is called Israel, or all people live democratically, everybody has their rights. That would be an ideal situation. But the world is wanting it a certain way. There is a conflict, that is why the conflict is going on. If United States would have permitted Israel to build settlements if it was legal. Obviously it is not legal. You and I may see that way, but the world is not seeing that way. And we have to live in this world. We can't live in isolation.
There is a solution there, though. As we've learned from President Putin in Russia and Crimea, you just take the land and bring it into your country, which is, he learned from Israel. You conquer it, you get it. There's a war, to the victor go the spoils. And if the Russians now, they can't come along and condemn Israel anymore.
True.
They can't now because they have ratified the same thing that Israel has done and most countries in the world have done. From the U.S. on, somebody said American Indian.
The question is, if North Korea comes and takes over Japan, is that legitimate? If we go capture Mexico, is that legitimate?
I hope so, yes.
We want to do that?
Well, yeah, that way people won't have to come north. They can get their food stamps right there. No.
I have a question. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Instead of a statement. What's the difference really between the Christian concept of the Jesus being the Son of God and Muhammad being the prophet of God, the infallible prophet of God?
What's the question?
Okay, the question is, you know, in my conversations with Muslims, they say, well, you know, Muhammad said such and such, so this is it. And you say, well, Muhammad, you know, lived, you know, in the 7th century. And they said, regardless, you know, Muhammad is infallible. Well, the Christians say pretty much the same thing. They say Jesus was the Son of God, and so he's infallible. So, I mean, what's the difference here?
We have to learn to respect the otherness of other. If that's what they believe, that's what they believe. I cannot question. If I eat well done steak and you eat raw steak, that's your choice and my choice. If I tell you that well done steak is better than raw steak, you said, go wherever you want to go. I'm going to enjoy my raw steak. People, beliefs are conditioned. I'll give you an example. In Heathrow Airport 4 years ago, 3 of us, I was an atheist for a long time. 3 of us there was a Belgian guy who was an atheist who became Christian, and he and I were waiting for the plane and carrying conversation. There was somebody from South Africa. He came. I was a native and paganistic, and now I'm a Christian. So I asked him, did you study different religions before you chose to be Christian? He said, no, I did study, but Christianity is the right thing to do. And we were going on. Then I said, let me ask you a very blunt question. You have a grandson and I have a grandson. Let's switch. My grandson is a Muslim grandson. Yours is a Christian grandson. Let's switch them right now. You raise him as a Christian and I raise your son as a Muslim. I'll send to the highest learning center in Islam. You send him to the highest learning in Christianity. 20 years from now, we'll pit them against each other. What do you think will happen? The son you raised, who was born as a Muslim, is going to defend Christianity to death. And the other guy is going to do. Have fact changed or is just a belief?
I have a quick follow-up. I'm of the opinion right now that Christianity needs to be modernized. We need to consider when some of the concepts came into being, that perhaps they even came into being through a corrupt Catholic Church. So I feel like our religion needs to be modernized, and it gives me the shivers to say it, but I even question, you know, whether Christ was the Son of God. If I would pose the same type of question to a Muslim, they would say, no, we can't question this. I mean, we don't care if it happened in the 7th century. We don't care who this guy was who said it. It's infallible. We have to believe it. And I talked to a neighbor of mine who's Muslim, and I said, do you really believe in everything that is included in Sharia? And he says, if you're going to be a Muslim, you might as well go all the way. What do you think about that?
Well, Sharia, I have written quite extensively on it. It is supposed to be during the time of the Prophet, if people came up with problems, he will find a solution for them. After he was gone, people had problems they didn't know. So a group of people wanted to create a body of understanding, body of law that would solve the problems. The intent was right, but there are a few flaws. There are 5 or 6 major flaws in Sharia. It doesn't serve justice like apostasy, blasphemy, stoning woman to death, adulterer. These are not in the Quran. They cooked it up and For thousands of years, Muslims never bothered to question it. We are questioning now. In fact, I wrote a big article in Huffington Post calling two Islams. One is pristine Islam, the other one is mangled up Islam. And the guys in the middle centuries, the middle scholars, they cooked up and added, and nobody bothered to question them, and it has become part of you. It's time to question everything. Muslims are questioning. I am in the forefront questioning all those. Sharia shouldn't be there. Sharia is, American laws in this country are much better in serving justice to the human being. Sharia's intent was good, but it is messed up. It is not, it is the application that is wrong. Intent is not wrong. So we cannot use Sharia. It is not coming in the United States. No Muslim has ever asked Sharia in this country.
Well, I'm a lawyer. I had a case, and Judge Theo Bedard invoked Sharia law on my client who was a Syrian. And the reason it was done was to make sure that he couldn't run with a child to another country. So the judge actually, and you don't see this written, but the case was called the Al-Qarqaz case here in Dallas. And it may be the only case in the United States where Sharia law was invoked and put into a divorce decree as part of it.
You're right, what Muslims are asking from Sharia part is exactly what Jewish people are asking, the halakha laws. What happens is, if I and my wife, or if me and a business partner have a conflict between us, we go to the judge, and the judge offers a jury or arbitration or a mediation. We can choose whatever we want. Whatever we agree to, the judge passes the order, and that is effective. So in that process, the judge may say, go to your rabbi, whatever. Yeah, if my rabbi says, I'll agree with it. Or go to your imam. The imam says, even then, if the imam says to the Muslim couple, gives a disadvantage per Sharia, if he gives a disadvantage to the woman, you think the woman will take that? She will go to the court, she wants a jury and a trial, and that will not apply. It's only when people are willing to agree that Sharia applies. If not, nobody wants that one. Of course, there are some people who want, but no institution has asked for it. So it's a lot of hype out there.
As I said, it's the only case I know of.
Yeah.
It happened to be one of our.
Okay.
There was an interesting debate between Tony Blair and Christopher Hitchens, who's now dead. Blair's point was that he felt that religion was a force for good, and Hitchens disagreed. I tend to follow Hitchens myself. I think the problem is religion, and always has been. As a student of the Bible, which I was in England, we all studied the Bible.
I was trying to think you were an accent.
Yes.
No, I know.
Unmistakable. If you look at the Old Testament, there's nothing but one tribe killing off another tribe, and even within the Christian religion, it's been a bloodbath. Okay, nothing but a bloodbath. I mean, those of us of my persuasion would say the world would be a far better place without any religions, and go for just ethical and moral values, actually.
Okay, look at nuclear power. Nuclear power in the hands of bad guys is dangerous to the world. But in the right hands, engineers, we get the light, we get the computers running, all good things are happening.
But what does that have to do with religion?
So nuclear power is not bad in itself.
I never said it was.
So religion is not bad.
Well,
religion is a good thing.
Well, it would be if it didn't have bad consequences, that's all.
Let me share quickly why I think a religion is a good thing. If you look at the time when Moses came into business, or Jesus came into business, or Muhammad, the society was rotten. People were not trusting each other. The guys cannot go out in peace because they were worried what their women folks will be harmed by the other guys. So there is so much distrust in the society. Moses came up with the laws to restore trust in the society. That was the right thing to do. Muhammad did the same thing. Jesus did the same thing. Really, the purpose of religion was good, to create trust and cooperation among people. Some people didn't get that religion. Most people got it right. Some didn't get, and they are the problem.
You could have fooled me, as they say. No, I think my own view is that religion is divisive. I actually adhere to the tenets of the Christianity, actually, which I think have nothing to do with religion. I think religion always gets perverted off track, actually. In fact, and then actually Christianity goes out of the windows. While people want to kill each other off for some ridiculous faith or the other. They always find something to disagree with. That's just amazing.
Well, if you look at, there are 1 billion Hindus, 1.5 billion Muslims, 2 billion Christians. Only 1% or 0.5% of them are bad guys. If everybody is a bad guy, the world would be very difficult to live. Religion has done a lot of good. Some people who didn't get the religion right are the problem, but religion itself is not.
Well, look, you obviously come from Asia, but look,
all religions
no, seriously, when Mountbatten was given a decision over India, as you know,
yeah,
and he decided, right or wrong, that Hindus could never live with the Muslims. I mean, that's what he decided, and so there was a division, and so you had Pakistan created and India created. Now, that was on the basis of his decision that these two religions couldn't coexist. Now,
you know what the Indians in Pakistan is,
and they've been killing each other ever since.
I think Mountbatten was the guy who created all this mess.
Well, well, you could, but that's been the history of religions. They've never. They're so devout that they'd rather kill each other than be friends. I mean, it's just amazing, actually.
But religion doesn't teach you to do that, though. None of the religions teach. As a pluralist, I have studied all religions. None of the religions deeply tell anybody to go kill other people.
Well, of course not. But somehow it reverts back to that. I mean, it's a.
Everybody here, can I just say something? Think back to when you went to Sunday school or like. Can I have a microphone? Yeah, sure. Where? Look, it's like we're all born innocent. Okay, so we go to school. We're in first or second. We're going to our religious school. We're going to the services, and we grow up and we get this good feeling, and we start learning values through these stories that they tell us, especially like kindergarten, and how it's real simple, and then it gets a little more involved, and we grow up with I think a basic right or wrong, and all the rest of it that goes with believing in all those good things, and I think then it's up to us. Just like people grow out of, there's no Santa Claus, you can go, okay, well, I don't know where this God is, but I like the fact that we should all be honest, and we should all be good to each other, and we should all do all these wonderful things. So I think in that way, religion has been probably a lot better than what if we didn't have it. So I think religion is really good. I think as adults or as we grow older, just more things happen, and people have their own psychological and other problems, and territory problems, and all the other problems that. But at least I think that as long as people aren't hiding behind religion or like I'm better than you because of this,
I agree.
That's the kind of thing that starts up the problems. That, like you're saying, the lack of respect. Which, if it's not going to be religious differences, we're not all born in the same city, country. We're not all, beautiful or ugly, or we're all so different. And so it's not so much a question, but I mean, where does it come? Oh, sorry. Okay. So where do we go from here? I guess because and what else is there that would be?
The best thing to do is learn about each other. It's like you and your sister not talking for 10 years, then find out you really didn't say what she thought you said.
Yeah.
That is needed. That's more important, to know each other. Once we know each other, most of the conflicts will fade. Some conflicts will not go away. Some do.
My last question is, do you not agree that the problem with religion is it's faith-based? It's dogmatic. It's like, I must believe this, and there's no gainsaying it whatsoever. And so, these, as if it's an absolute, and nothing in this world is an absolute, and yet religion says this is an absolute. You have to believe it, it's absolutely true. And look at what's happened in this country. 70 years ago, to be a homosexual was a crime. Divorce, etc. But we've seen a massive change in the attitude, okay? Now, these primitive beliefs all came from religion, and gradually they've been thrown off as being, incorrect. So a lot of bad things come from religious beliefs because they're absolute, and nothing in this world is absolute. And the question is, do you agree or not?
Well, I partially agree with you. Some of those beliefs are entrenched in people. I think what we need to do is you and I have to live in this society, work together, live together, go to work together, and that is more important. Religion is an instrument to help us get down, but if religion becomes a divisive force, then it is not serving the purpose. Let me conclude with a short, unless there is a question. My kids, when they are growing up, I did not want them to grow up to be bigots. I didn't want them to have any prejudice towards anyone. There is not a place of worship. I didn't take my kids to synagogue, mosque, temples, churches, Mormon, Baptist, Catholic, every place. So my daughter, 6-year-old daughter, would always ask, Dad, what are they saying? 6-year-old asking me that question. And I said to myself, how do I explain the deep, entrenched philosophy to her? So I came up with something very simple, and I think that is the bottom line of, you go to synagogue, church, mosque, the real bottom line of their worship is thanking the Creator. Thank God for the food, thank God for the parents, thank God for giving me life, thank God that I get the food. You can sum up in those 7 or 8 sentences in general. So I was telling her every place we go, she said, Dad, what are they saying? I would say that. We were at the Hindu temple. We sit on the floor cross-legged and we were chanting. And all of a sudden she says, Dad, what are they saying? And I came back with my standard answer. Sweetheart, they are saying that God is great. God created this earth. God gave us life. We thank parents. We thank God for all this. Then out of nowhere, people sitting on the floor chanting, she jumps up in the middle. She said, gee, cool, Dad. God can be worshipped in so many different ways. So that statement, I do teaching in pluralism, respecting every religion. Who am I to question your faith? That's your faith. My faith is as dear to me as yours is to you. Your faith does what it's supposed to do for you, bring some peace to you as mine does. So faith is not the problem. The problem is our attitudes. Our attitude should be pluralism, that is learning to respect the otherness of other and accept the God-given uniqueness to each one of us. When we do that, conflicts fade and solutions emerge.
Thank you. We're gonna, well, now we'll have, you get to sit down and we'll have, anybody who wants to make any comments, they can.
Anytime.
You get to sit down now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then you get the last word.
Okay.
So now is your chance. Who wants, you want to be first? Come on up here.
It's called another fool. Yeah, right. All right.
You got 5 minutes.
I got 5 minutes? You sure? Okay. I'm sure you understand what ego stands for. This, okay. Can you hear me now?
No.
You can't? Can you hear me now? I'm going to swallow the microphone. Okay. Do you know what ego stands for? Edging God out. And a lot of what we've been talking tonight about, it sounds like a cockfight. You get two people together and, who's going to win? Well, the winner take all, the golden rule where a person, whoever has the most gold wins. It seems like to me, religion, all this stuff we're talking about tonight, My questions are this. What is it that we're doing to edge God out individually? We're a microcosm right here. If you look at it, all of us here, we could represent, all of us in this room right here could represent all the religions of the world. If we were the world, you know, people are thinking in their minds, man, I don't like that guy over there, or I don't like this person over here. You're thinking in your mind. Everybody's got some thoughts about somebody else in this room. So what we're doing, you know, in essence, by talking someone down in our mind or saying something, you know, we all do it. But if you go into the Bible, you can see what Jesus says about a lot of this. He's talking about, you know, you think you're doing it. Talks about adultery, talks about a lot of things. You start getting down into your intent. And if our intentions are not pure, and we're sitting here trying to treat our neighbor poorly, I mean, we don't hit the gold standard. If you're a Christian, you're not hitting the gold standard if you're not truly looking at it from the standpoint of, you have to really look at your intentions. What are you really intending to do with another person? And if you really want your religion, I don't think Jesus would approve of a lot of what he's seen in Christianity today. I have no problems with Jesus. But what I've seen from a lot of the Christians, and I'm going to be really honest with you, I'm talking from my heart, I'm not impressed. Some of the nastiness that comes out of their heart isn't from God. And they are definitely operating out of their egos, they're edging God out. And this world can use a lot in the religion. I totally agree with you. Religion has a lot of problems with what's going on today. We need less religion, we need more spirituality, more people taking responsibility for themselves, stop blaming other people for their problems. Each individual needs to pass it forward too. You ever see the movie where the kid passes a good deed to somebody? When you start thinking in positive terms, you know, I'm not better than you, I'm not less than or better than, I'm equal to. We need to think in terms of that and stop thinking in terms of these other things. But let me tell you, if Jesus was right here, right now, would you be able to stand before him and say, look, I did everything in a pure heart to treat my neighbor as... He said, even the least of you. You treat the least of my people in a bad way, you're doing it to me. Remember that. There's accountability here among all religions. You've got to have accountability. Don't tell me about how great your prophet is, or this person or that person, or what level you're on. It's making a bad name for all religions in the world right now. All this fighting, this bloodshed, it goes back thousands of years. It's time to stop and grow up. It's just like little kids fighting. And the rest of the world's getting tired of seeing it. The people who are non-believers are disgusted with it because they don't want to believe in what these religions are putting out. Just a warning.
Okay, who's next? Are you next? No. Oh, come on up here.
It is said the truth will set you free, but I've had people clarify that. They say the truth you understand, the truth you know will set you free. I was raised an atheist and grew up probably till age 15 with the doctrine of annihilation. I understand the need for religion because it helps a person get on with life, because it answers some of those big questions. But there's a difference between belief and knowledge. A wise man once said, belief is a poor substitute for knowledge. I think we end up defending beliefs to the death on occasion, never having the knowledge that applies to that belief. Thank you for clarifying Lord Mountbatten as the responsible party for partitioning India there. But see, that really is just, that is the British method of divide and conquer. I've actually attended Indian plays where they have the British actors, of course Indians dress up as British, coming in and just causing division everywhere. So I think if you look at it, there are Muslims and Hindus living together in India today. And that's outside of Pakistan and Bangladesh. So I think the question is really that maybe the British just wanted a ride back in to take over and deal with the chaos there. And why don't you jolly well come back and just take care of us, since we can't sort things out for ourselves. But that kind of brings up a point, is everyone's talking about Israel and the Palestinians. That's kind of a really difficult issue. One of the interviews I did, that is parts of it are on this DVD here, is of Barry Hamish, who was a Israeli journalist and had a newsletter, Inside Israel, with Joel Beinerman. And they were investigative reporters, trying to figure out what was going on, such things as the Rabin assassination and what was going on with, and I get some of the names mixed up. I think it was Shamir, Yitzhak Shamir. But what Hamish kept finding and discovering was that there was a element really against the people of Israel there, kind of coming out of Paris and the Paris Freemasonic lodges, and these were Jews. But what they were wanting to do is they were wanting to turn the entire Middle East into a Middle Eastern EU. And they have all these plans. Hamish and Beinerman exposed that top leadership in Israel actually orchestrated the death of Israelis to promote this division, which would in the end cause, if they can keep the conflict going long enough, then they can say, well, we just can't have any borders at all. And it's kind of what governments do. And I once, at one point, knew a defense planner, and I mentioned, well, what if? And he said, well, if Joint Chiefs have a question like that, they just go to the shelf and they pull a ring binder off, and that's the plan on what to do, down to every jet fighter and cotter pin. And that's kind of the way government works. And the history of government and government control really is the history of false flags. If governments want to get something done, they'll go in, they'll become their enemy. So when you're speaking about hate is a manipulating handle, if you will, that governments use to cause conflict and then come in with the solution. And this has happened so many times, time in and time out. Everyone has, like they hold up like the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers, evil bad guys, the Koch brothers. Rush Limbaugh. Someone did some research, found out that the Koch brothers actually gave more money to Democrats over the last few years, last cycle, than they gave to Republicans. They're the rich elite. I mean, they're playing both sides. They want everybody beholden to them, whoever gets elected. Doesn't matter to them. They still want to get their laws passed that are favorable to them. And so we have to understand that wars are being created for a big plan, for a handful of people, for a financial elite. This is not out here. If we play into the hate game and into the division game, we may very well be sincere in whatever side we're taking and so forth, but it really doesn't matter a hill of beans compared to the massive fact of how we're being manipulated. Thank you.
Okay, who's next? You next? You're it. You raised your hand.
Yeah. This is a spaghetti factory back here. Brief history lesson. I mentioned 1967. And at that time in the Middle East, there were a number of Arab countries that had aligned themselves. They were going to attack Israel. They were going to destroy Israel. This was going to be it. Egypt was one of the main ones. They had a big air force. They had their plans in place. They were going to tear up and destroy Israel. The intelligence gathering of Israel told them this is going to happen. Israel got the jump on them. Israeli airplanes came over and wiped out the Egyptian Air Force almost in hours. Most of the ones that were arrayed against Israel were defeated. Israel captured 5 places: Golan Heights, East Jerusalem, the West Bank, Gaza, and Sinai Peninsula. They gave back Sinai. Today, it belongs to Egypt. Gave it back. It was theirs. They captured it. They could claim it. They gave it back. Gaza, they gave it away. It was theirs. They captured it. They could take possession of it. They could have a title. They gave it away. And this last summer, what did we see? Gaza being taken over by Hamas launched thousands of rockets into Israel. That's the thanks Israel got for giving away Gaza. They probably had no idea that Gaza would elect Hamas to be their leaders and govern. Hamas has pledged in their charter the obliteration of Israel. The border of Gaza and Israel, it's as close as you are right here. So what does Israel do? What can they do? I told you that they will never, ever, ever be able to win the PR battle. They have the world against them. The people who live, the Palestinian Arabs who live in the West Bank, have a good life. They have the protection of Israel. They could almost be Israeli citizens, but they have it good. It's better than Egypt or Lebanon or Iraq for sure, especially the way things are now. I don't know what people expect of Israel. They gave away Sinai. They gave away Gaza. They have control over the West Bank, a big area. They're not going to give away the West Bank. They're not going to give away the West Bank. And in my opinion, they're not going to let it be a Palestinian state. They know how to protect themselves. 67 and there's a 73 war, and never mind the one in 48. They know how to protect themselves. So I'm just saying, Israel is about as good as you're going to get. They do wage war and they protect themselves. And they're going to protect themselves. And any Arab nation who tries to attack them better think long, hard, and twice. Because they could be hurt and they may regret any attack on Israel. Israel are the good guys. They are the good people. They have given back property that has been legitimately theirs. And they are the ones that do wage a decent, good war. If they are fired upon, they are going to retaliate. So, something to think about.
I think I'll close this off with something very interesting. There was a saying back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and it was Yankee go home. Today it's been Yankee go home and take us with you.
Okay, before we put somebody on twice, anybody else wants to come on up here? We're running out of time too. We're about done.
Keep your time on this guy.
Well, I certainly have to defend the insults to the British Empire. It turns out that in our imperial past, we had the Palestine Mandate. We collected that after the First World War, when, of course, before that it was part of the Ottoman Empire under the Turks. And also, of course, we were in India. Now, I have had Pakistanis tell me that they wish the British were back running things in Pakistan, actually. Just as our good friend said that Yankee go home, but please take us with us. Living in London, it seems that half the Indians and Pakistanis are now in London. And same with Nigerians. Apparently, we tried to do our best. You know, we built cities, railroad, we built and so on and so forth. We gave them law, we gave them education. In fact, I met a Bangladeshi bank clerk who was proud of his London University A-levels he'd got. So, you know, there you are. You see, there's no gratitude in this world. Whatever you do for the best. And I'm sorry to say, yes, we were imperialists. Through dint of not having the money to sustain our armies around the world, we had to give up India and so on. And we certainly got out of Palestine for the same reason. We said, well, folks, we've done our best. We can't afford it. Goodbye and good luck. For some reason, we get dragged back in by our friends in America all over the place, you see. And we're helping them out every now and again with very partial success, I must say. So there you are. You do your best in this world. You have good intentions, and then that's it. So I'm afraid you just have good intentions, smile politely, and be a gentleman, following the British model, and you can't go far wrong.
I knew we was going to have a lot of fun when they put religions in the mold. One thing we can never agree on is religion, and we're having a hard time agreeing on politics. I enjoyed your statements, and I remember the first thing you said. You tried to prepare us for not getting too bent out of shape at the beginning of the remarks and to try to look at yourself and know yourself. And I think that's a big problem we have throughout the world, is we don't know who we are. And we let other people define who we are, and we believe them and act on it, and that's not who we really are. But I wanted to deal with a couple of things. My good friend here, we always we agree and we disagree. We think about it, the biblical thing, this Israel and the Palestinians is a dysfunctional family between Isaac and Ishmael. And my experience with families is hard to resolve issues. They both believe in the Old Testament, the Muslims and the Jewish, not the New Testament. And so they have some similarities, but they deal with it differently. And I had a number of Jewish friends, and we discussed that because you study the biblical history, that God forgave the Jews a number of different times. And we kind of came to the conclusion that the last time was the last time. And the Israel that we have today was carved out by my good friends in the United States and Great Britain. Is that right? So that was supposed to be the new Israel.
And they did conquer a lot of land in 1967, but whether it was theirs or not, perhaps we should follow our paradigm when we went into the Spanish-American War. We didn't colonize none of that, and you know, we kind of dictate a little bit. You know, we're finally going to get off of Cuba, but that was part of that. So maybe they need to follow our model on that situation in dealing with it. But as I understand it, what they gave Israel, and before that was done, the Muslims and the Israelites got along in that part of the country. It wasn't like it is now. And so I guess when England and the United States get involved in something, we can expect dissension later on. So I'm laughing, it's not comical. But I think if reasonable people think a little bit, don't let no one else define who you are. First decide who you are, what your objectives are in life, and then look at other people. How is this going to relate to me? In our system, in like we said, the separation of church and state, the only thing is absolute is the belief. If you practice, that's not necessarily absolute. If your practice of religion interfere with my rights, then it's not constitutional. So those are some things we need to think about. We all are implicated in all of this stuff. And I was very disturbed. And in fact, I called President Bush 3 times and said, please don't go into Iraq. That goes back to biblical times. We cannot solve those problems. So let Saddam do what he's doing, because we can't make it better. But look what happened. So we all obligated. Religion in and of itself tries to give us a framework. The whole thing is when God asked God, he said, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And love your neighbor as yourself. So if we really truly love everybody, we wouldn't have no problems. Thank you.
Okay, we running out of speakers? I guess we're running out of time. All right, I'm the last one standing. You had your time. How much time are you going to take? About a minute?
No, give him this.
All right.
No. What else are we doing?
Well, we're running out of time. All right.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. Anyway, I'm the last man standing, so I'll finish up. I want to thank our speaker for being here tonight. He did a terrific job. Oftentimes in this country, in any country, underlying everything is money. When things go wrong, when the economy goes bad. When the economy goes bad, we all start fighting with each other. That's part of what happens. Every country that ever happened, when the economy goes bad, you have a rise of the lunatic fringe. And then you have war or any number of things. So to me, the most important thing is to structure the economy properly so it doesn't happen. Now in this country, we've since the Industrial Revolution, machines replace people. Machines don't pay taxes. People pay taxes. And today in this country, we have 25 million people out of work. And a lot of that has to do with corporations leaving town, going overseas, doing other things. And on top of that, automation itself. I was in the railroad industry. We had 5 people working on a train. Now we have 2 people. You got 5 people on pension for everyone that's working. So it's crazy. So what we really need to do is we need to shorten the workday, put more people to work. Then they have more pet taxpayers instead of tax drainers. And the government get 2-fold benefit of increased tax revenue without raising taxes. And they have less bills to pay for people who aren't working because they'd be working. That's what we need to do. But we can't do that, because if we tried to do that, corporations would leave even faster because they wouldn't want to work with a shorter workday. So we have to put tariffs on corporations. We try to put them in other countries. That's not going to work, as WTO and all these other things we set up. We got corporations running the world right now. And this is part of our problem. We have corporations running the world. And the end result is we're all susceptible to it. Corporations are all making lots of money, and the people that are working are not. That's part of what's happened. So we need to we need to get we need to put tariffs on corporations, but we can't do that either because Congress is being bought by the corporations. We got the best Congress money can buy. That's our problem. So what we need to do then is to get Congress maybe to act in its own interest to instruct the Federal Communications Commission to require the media to provide sufficient free airtime. Airways are free. It goes along with what you were saying. And if you had free airtime, then we could, and then the representative would represent the people instead of representing the people buying their vote in Washington. If that happened, then you could make these other changes. But until you do that, until we control Congress, we're in trouble. That's my view anyway. So, and you get the last word. So come on up here.
I appreciate the passion with which you all shared what you believed. And it is important that we learn about each other. If we live in silos, we will never know the other point. It is nothing wrong to hear a completely opposing point of view. At least we know where we stand and we'll learn how to work with it. Addressing what you said about conflicts, if you look down, there are only 3 types of genuine, authentic conflict. Space, your space, spiritual space, home, whatever you call it. Then you got sustenance, what keeps you going, food, water. And nurturance, that is your family. And if anybody messes with these 3, your space, sustenance, and nurturance, there is a genuine conflict. Most other conflicts about religion, they're all imaginary conflicts that can be resolved. When, not to use the word God too frequently, let's say God or whatever process created humans and animals. And when there is so much diversity, there is going to be conflict. When animals were created, God gave them horns, fangs, and paws. If there is a she-goat and there are 2 he-goats, God said, you fight it out with horns, saying whatever it is, you resolve your conflict that way. But when it came to humans, God said, I'm not going to give you horns, paws, or fangs. You're going to sit down and talk. I'm going to give you a tongue, ability to talk, resolve your differences through conversation as opposed to killing each other. And another statement that I think you may like this one is, God has not signed a deal with Muslims, Jews, Hindus, or Christians behind other people's back. If God were to do something like that, we don't need a God like that. God has not signed a deal with anyone. He has created the world, left it for us to manage it and take care of it ourselves. He does not interfere in anything we do because He has given us something to manage it. And all the questions, I like your passionate presentation about Israel and their right to keep the land, right to build. And it's a good point. Those are all the points that needs to be put on the table to discuss, see what is agreeable to a lot of people. And that's how peace is created, through dialogue. And one has to be passionate to say what they believe. I'm glad you shared that. And we thank the British. We thank the British. If it is not for British, Indians, Pakistanis, and all the colonies, including Canada and the United States, would not have learned English, the international language, and seen this kind of civilization. Thank you very much. And I think the conflicts are always going to be there. It is how do we sit down and work the conflicts with. The more the differences, the better off we are. And the more passionately we disagree, the better off we are, because we are honestly, genuinely expressing what we believe instead of just shooting our mouth off without saying something that is not in our heart. I'm so glad to hear you all said what was in your heart. And that's the right thing to do. And that's how we can sit down and figure out problems, solutions. And the bottom line is, if we can learn to respect the otherness of others and accept the God-given or genetic-given uniqueness of each one of us, then conflicts fade and solutions emerge. Thank you very much. By the way, I'm one of the biggest supporters of the state of Israel. And not only me, there are many Muslims who do that. Everybody wants peace, and everybody wants Jews, Muslims, everybody to get along and live peacefully. That's the bottom line desire for everyone. And also the Quran says something very interesting you may want to hear. It says, there are 18 times it says the same verse. Whether you are a Jew or a Christian or a pagan or whatever, you need not worry. If you take care of your fellow beings, God will take care of you. That it's a very pluralistic sentence. It doesn't claim any exclusive, only Muslims go to heaven. There is nothing like that in Quran. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that.
We appreciate your efforts.
Well, anyway, we're done here. We're going to retire to Starbucks down the street, and our speaker is welcome. We'll buy him coffee down there, and you get to converse with him if you like. So that's it for now. Thank you.
This is William, your videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like us, or follow us, and get notices of all our videos. We love it even when you call. So when visiting the Barbeck's restaurant, tell them you want your reservation to the next College of Complex class.